Hello everyone, and welcome back to the English Academy. Before we begin, I want to ask you a simple question. Have you ever stayed awake at night, thinking about your future? Maybe you were worried about your career, your studies, your family, your money. Or maybe you kept asking yourself, what if I fail? What if I never become successful? What if I'm not good enough? If you've ever asked yourself even one of these questions, then this video is for you. Because today, we're going to talk about one mistake. A mistake that millions of people make every single day, without even realizing it. And the saddest part is, this mistake doesn't just steal your confidence. It slowly steals your happiness, your energy, your sleep, and eventually, your peace. Think about it. How many times have you been physically sitting in one place, but mentally, you were living somewhere in the future? Maybe worrying about tomorrow's interview. Maybe imagining a failure that hasn't happened. Maybe creating problems that don't even exist yet. It's strange, isn't it? The future hasn't arrived. Nothing bad has happened. And yet, your heart beats faster. Your mind feels heavy. And your happiness disappears. Why? Because your brain doesn't always know the difference between a real danger and an imagined one. The moment you repeatedly picture a terrible future, your body starts reacting as if that future is already happening. That's why you feel stressed, even when you're perfectly safe. But here's something even more surprising. The biggest mistake people make isn't dreaming about the future. Dreaming is beautiful. Planning is necessary. Having goals is important. The real mistake is living in a future that doesn't even exist. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this one habit silently controls millions of lives. And more importantly, how you can finally break free from it. So don't just watch this video. Listen carefully. Because one idea, just one idea, can completely change the way you think about your future. Let's begin with a story. Not about a millionaire. Not about a celebrity. But about someone who was just like you. Someone who believed that worrying about the future would protect him. He had no idea that it was slowly destroying him from the inside. His name was Daniel. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He wasn't a genius. He was just an ordinary young man, with extraordinary dreams. Every morning, he woke up with a long list of goals. I'll work harder. I'll become successful. I'll make my parents proud. I'll build a better future. His dreams were beautiful. But there was one problem. Every time he sat down to work, his mind started asking questions. What if I fail? What if I'm wasting my time? What if someone else is better than me? What if I never reach my goals? One question became 10. 10 questions became 100. And before he realized it, an entire hour had passed. Without doing a single thing. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. But his life stayed exactly the same. Not because he was lazy. Not because he wasn't talented. But because he was fighting battles that didn't even exist. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you've done the same thing. You wanted to start learning English. But then your mind whispered, what if people laugh at my pronunciation? You wanted to apply for your dream job. But your mind said, what if they reject me? You wanted to start a business. But your mind asked, what if I lose everything? And slowly, without realizing it, you stopped moving. Not because reality stopped you, but because imagination did. This is how fear works. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it speaks very quietly. It sounds logical. It sounds responsible. It even sounds intelligent. It tells you, don't take the risk. Wait for the perfect time. Think a little more. Plan a little more. But here's the truth. Fear doesn't always protect you. Sometimes. It quietly builds a prison inside your own mind. And the worst part? The door of that prison is never locked. You're simply too afraid to walk out. Daniel didn't know this. He believed that overthinking would save him from failure. Instead, it was taking him further away from the life he wanted. Then one ordinary afternoon, something happened. Something so simple, yet so powerful, that it completely changed the way he looked at his future forever. Daniel looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. A tired face. And a mind that never seemed to rest. One afternoon, after another day of worrying about his future, he sat alone on a park bench. An old man was sitting nearby. He quietly watched Daniel for a few minutes. Then he smiled and asked, "Young man, why do you look so worried?" Daniel let out a deep sigh. "I have too many problems." The old man nodded. "Really? Tell me." Daniel began speaking. "I'm afraid I won't get a good job. I'm afraid I won't become successful. I'm afraid I'll disappoint my parents. I'm afraid I'll never have enough money." The old man listened carefully. He didn't interrupt. When Daniel finally finished, the old man asked just one question. "Has any of those things happened yet?" Daniel stayed silent. "No." The old man smiled again. "So you're suffering because of events that don't even exist." Daniel looked confused. The old man picked up a small dry leaf from the ground. He held it in his hand and said, "Look at this leaf. A few months ago, it was green. It never worried about autumn. It simply absorbed sunlight. Day after day. And because it focused on today, it completed its purpose." Then the old man looked directly into Daniel's eyes. "But humans are different. We leave today's work to worry about tomorrow's possibilities." Daniel couldn't say a single word. The old man continued. "Tell me, can you change tomorrow? Without doing something today?" "No." "Can worrying about the future guarantee success?" "No." "Can fear solve tomorrow's problems?" Daniel slowly shook his head. Again. The answer was no. The old man smiled. "Then why are you giving today's peace? To pay for tomorrow's problems?" That single sentence hit Daniel harder than anything he had ever heard. He realized something shocking. 4 months. He wasn't preparing for his future. He was simply rehearsing his fears. And there's a huge difference between the two. The old man stood up. Before leaving, he said one final thing. "Your future is created by today's actions. Not by today's worries." Daniel watched him walk away. And for the first time in a very long time, he wasn't thinking about next year. He wasn't thinking about next month. He wasn't even thinking about tomorrow. He was only thinking about what he could do today. Daniel went home that evening with a different feeling. For the first time, his mind was quiet. Not because all of his problems had disappeared, but because he finally understood that worrying and preparing are not the same thing. The next morning, he woke up before sunrise. He picked up a notebook. Instead of writing everything that could go wrong, he wrote just one question. What can I do today? Only one question. Nothing more. The answer was simple. Read for 1 hour. Practice English for 30 minutes. Exercise for 20 minutes. Apply for one job. Call his parents. That was it. No 5-year plan. No endless overthinking. Just today's work. And something incredible began to happen. One day of action became 1 week. 1 week became 1 month. 1 month became 6 months. His confidence slowly returned. Not because life became easier, but because he finally stopped fighting imaginary battles. You see, most people believe confidence comes before action. But that's not true. Confidence comes after action. Think about a child learning to walk. The child doesn't wait until he feels confident. He stands. He falls. He cries. He stands again. And one day, without even realizing it, he's walking. Life works the same way. You'll never feel 100% ready. You'll never remove every fear. You'll never know exactly what the future holds. And that's okay. Because certainty has never been the requirement for success. Action has. Here's a question I want you to answer honestly. How much time have you spent worrying this week? 1 hour? 5 hours? Maybe even every single day? Now imagine if you had invested those same hours into learning, improving, building, practicing. How different would your life look 1 year from now? The truth is painful. Most people don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they spend today's energy trying to control tomorrow. And that's a battle no one can ever win. Because tomorrow has never been under your control. Today is. And today is more than enough. But here's something even more important. If you ask people what they want most in life, some will say money. Some will say success. Some will say a big house, a luxury car, or a famous career. But if you look closely, every single one of those dreams is actually hiding one deeper desire. Peace. People don't want money just because it's money. They believe money will give them peace. People don't chase success just for applause. They believe success will finally make them feel enough. But here's the biggest misunderstanding. Peace is not a reward you receive in the future. Peace is a decision you practice today. Imagine 2 people. The first person earns thousands of dollars every month. But every night, he worries about losing everything. The second person has much less. But he sleeps peacefully. Because he knows he gave his best today. Now tell me, who is actually richer? The one with more money? Or the one with more peace? This is something society rarely teaches us. We're taught how to make a living. But we're never taught how to live. We're taught how to earn. But not how to enjoy. We're taught how to compete. But not how to be content. And because of that, millions of people spend their entire lives climbing a mountain. Only to realize they were climbing the wrong one. Please don't misunderstand me. There is nothing wrong with having big dreams. Dream as big as you can. Build businesses. Travel the world. Become successful. Create wealth. Do all of it. But never sacrifice today's peace for tomorrow's possibilities. Because the future has a strange habit. When tomorrow finally arrives, it becomes another today. And if you don't know how to enjoy today, you'll never enjoy tomorrow either. Many people keep saying, I'll be happy when I get that job. I'll be happy when I buy that house. I'll be happy when I become successful. Years pass. Goals change. New desires appear. But happiness keeps moving further away. Like a finish line. That keeps moving every time you get closer. That's why some of the richest people in the world still struggle with stress, loneliness, and anxiety. Because peace was never hiding inside success. It was hiding inside the way they chose to live each day. And that's a lesson Daniel was slowly beginning to understand. For the first time, he stopped chasing a perfect future and started building a meaningful present. As the months passed, people started noticing the change in Daniel. His friends asked, "What happened to you? You look calmer. You smile more. You seem different." Daniel simply smiled. Because the biggest changes in life are often invisible. You can't always see confidence. You can't always see discipline. You can't always see inner peace. But you can always feel them. One evening, Daniel opened his old notebook. The one he used months ago. Its pages were filled with fear. What if I fail? What if I'm too late? What if I'm not smart enough? What if I disappoint everyone? He looked at those words for a long time. Then he laughed. Not because those fears were silly, but because they had never become reality. Almost every fear he had imagined never happened. Isn't that true for most of us? Think about the things you worried about 1 year ago. Maybe an exam. Maybe a job interview. Maybe someone's opinion. Maybe a mistake you made. Now ask yourself, how many of those things still matter today? Probably very few. And yet, back then, they felt like the end of the world. That's the trick your mind plays. It magnifies tomorrow and minimizes today. It whispers, "This problem is huge. This failure will destroy your life. You'll never recover." But life has a funny way of proving our fears wrong. Humans are far stronger than they believe. We've survived heartbreak, failure, rejection, loss, disappointment. And somehow, we're still here. Still breathing. Still moving. Still hoping. So why do we keep doubting ourselves? Why do we keep believing that the next challenge will destroy us, when every previous challenge has made us stronger? The answer is simple. Because fear has a louder voice than faith. Fear shouts. Faith whispers. Fear says, "You can't." Faith quietly asks, "Why not?" Fear tells you to wait. Faith tells you to begin. Fear focuses on everything you might lose. Faith focuses on everything you could become. Every single day. Those two voices fight inside your mind. And the one that grows stronger is the one you choose to listen to. So the real question isn't, what does the future hold? The real question is, which voice are you feeding today? There is a story that has been told for generations. Two farmers lived in the same village. Both had the same amount of land. The same weather. The same opportunities. But after a few years, one farmer had a field full of healthy crops. The other had almost nothing. People wondered, how is this possible? One day, a young boy asked the successful farmer, "What is your secret?" The old farmer smiled and said, "Every morning, before the sun rises, I water the seeds. Not because I can already see the crops, but because I believe they're growing beneath the soil." The boy looked confused. "But what if nothing grows?" The farmer replied, "If I keep digging up the seed every day to check, it will never grow." Think about that for a moment. Isn't that exactly what we do with our dreams? We plant a goal. Then the very next day we ask, why am I not successful yet? A week later, maybe I'm not talented enough. A month later, maybe this isn't for me. We keep digging up our own seeds, just to see if they're growing. And in doing so, we destroy the very thing we wanted to build. Success has always required patience. But today's world has trained us to expect everything instantly. Instant food. Instant messages. Instant entertainment. Instant results. But life doesn't work that way. A tree doesn't become strong overnight. A diamond isn't created in a single day. And a meaningful life is never built in a hurry. The future you're worried about is being shaped by the small choices you make today. Every book you read. Every skill you practice. Every healthy habit you repeat. Every time you choose discipline over excuses. You're watering your future. Even if you can't see the results yet. Remember this. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean progress isn't happening. The roots always grow before the branches. And perhaps that's the hardest lesson of all. To keep believing. Even when there's nothing to prove that you're getting closer. Because one day, without warning, people will look at your success and say, "You were lucky." They'll never see the silent mornings. The lonely nights. The self-doubt. The patience. And the thousands of small decisions that brought you there. The future is never built in one big moment. It's built one ordinary day at a time. At this point, Daniel finally understood something that most people never do. The future is not something you find. It's something you create. Every decision. Every habit. Every hour. Every single day. Is quietly building the life you'll live tomorrow. But here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They spend so much time trying to predict the future that they forget to create it. Have you ever noticed? When you're driving at night, your car's headlights only show a small part of the road. Maybe 50 meters. Maybe 100. They don't show the entire journey. And yet, you still reach your destination. Why? Because you don't need to see the whole road. You only need to see the next few steps. Life works exactly the same way. God, the universe, or simply life itself, will rarely show you the entire path. It only asks you to take the next step. But most people refuse. They say, "I'll start when I know everything. I'll begin when I'm completely ready. I'll move when I have no fear." And because that day never comes, neither does the life they dream about. The truth is, you don't become brave and then take action. You become brave because you take action. Every successful person you've ever admired was once a beginner. Every confident speaker was once afraid to speak. Every successful entrepreneur once had 0 customers. Every athlete once struggled with their first training session. The difference wasn't talent. The difference wasn't luck. The difference was simple. They kept moving. Even when they couldn't see the entire road. So let me ask you something. What dream have you been postponing? What conversation have you been avoiding? What skill have you promised yourself you'll learn? One day. What if that one day is today? Because time has a strange way of moving. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. And before you know it, you're looking back, wondering where all the time went. Don't let your future become a collection of missed opportunities. Simply because you were waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment has never existed. It never will. The only moment you've ever truly owned is this one. Before this video ends, I want you to do something. Not for me. Not for this channel. But for yourself. Close your eyes for just a moment. And imagine that you're 80 years old. Your hair has turned gray. Your body has become weak. Your life is almost complete. Now imagine. An 18-year-old version of yourself walks into the room. The younger you. Full of dreams. Full of energy. Full of hope. He looks at you and asks just one question. Did we become the person we always wanted to be? What would your answer be? Would you proudly smile and say, yes. I wasn't perfect. I made mistakes. I failed many times. But I kept moving. Or would you lower your head and whisper, I was too afraid. I kept waiting. I spent my life worrying instead of living. That question is painful. But sometimes, the truth is painful. The biggest tragedy in life is not failure. The biggest tragedy is reaching the end of your life. Knowing you had the chance. But you never took it. Knowing you had dreams. But fear convinced you to stay where you were. Years from now, nobody will remember every small mistake you made. Nobody will remember the embarrassing moments. Nobody will remember the times you failed. But you will always remember the opportunities you never had the courage to take. Life is shorter than we think. One day, your parents will grow old. One day, your friends will become strangers. One day, the people sitting beside you today may no longer be there. And one day, you will realize the future you worried about for so many years has already become your past. So don't waste today trying to control a tomorrow that doesn't exist. Use today. Love today. Learn today. Forgive today. Work today. Smile today. Because today is the only place where life actually happens. Yesterday is a memory. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is your greatest gift. And maybe that's why it's called the present. As we come to the end of this journey, I don't want you to remember my words. I want you to remember this feeling. The feeling that maybe, just maybe, your future isn't as frightening as your mind has convinced you to believe. Remember, every great achievement in history started with someone who had no guarantee of success. No certainty. No perfect plan. Only a decision to take the next step. You don't have to be the smartest person. You don't have to be the richest. You don't have to be fearless. You simply have to keep moving. Some days, you'll feel motivated. Other days, you won't. But never let your emotions decide your future. Let your discipline decide it. Because motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. And one small action repeated every single day will always defeat one big action done only once. Never compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Everyone has a different journey. Everyone has a different timeline. The flower doesn't compete with the tree. The sun doesn't compete with the moon. Both shine. When it's their time, your time will come too. But only if you don't quit. Only if you don't allow fear to become the author of your life. From this moment, make yourself one promise. Stop asking, what if I fail? Start asking, what if I succeed? Stop asking, what if people judge me? Start asking, what if I inspire them? Stop asking, what if I'm too late? Start asking, what can I do today? Because your future will never change in a single day. But one day, you'll look back and realize everything changed. Because you finally decided to change one day. That day can be today. If this video made you stop, think, or see your life differently, Then don't let this message end here. Carry it with you tomorrow morning. Carry it into your work. Into your studies. Into your relationships. Into every decision you make. And whenever fear whispers, "I don't think you can," smile. Take one more step. And quietly reply, "Watch me." Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to improve your English while learning powerful life lessons, make sure to subscribe to the English Academy. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself. Keep learning. Keep growing. And never stop believing in the person you're becoming.